Welcome, everyone, to the Thursday edition of Fair Territory. I'm Ken Rosenthal here with Alanna Rizzo. Alanna, good to be with you. And we start the show today with a very interesting debate.
Yeah, Ken, always great to spend my Thursday with you. It is an interesting debate. The question remains, who is going to beat the New York Mets? Are they the best team, Ken, in the National League?
On June 5th, I would say the answer is yes, but it's only June 5th. But this debate stems from what we've seen in Los Angeles the last couple of nights. The Mets have won the season series from the Dodgers. Some really excellent games. Last night was not close, but the first two were outstanding. And the Mets right now, I want to show you guys the National League overall standings, not the division by division, but just the overall records of teams in the National League, because it's telling, quite frankly. And it's telling because the Mets are on top, 39 and 23. The Cubs, 38 and 23, even with their starting pitching injuries. The Phillies follow the Dodgers, 37 and 25, then the Padres, 35 and 25. And frankly, not far behind these teams are the Cardinals, the Brewers, and the Giants. The National League looks really strong. What's interesting about the Mets is that they're doing this again with a pitching staff that does not include a major free agent signing. They signed Sean Manaea back 3 years, $75 million. They signed Clay Holmes to a 3-year contract as well. They brought in Griffin Canning, who was terrific last night against the Dodgers, but they seemingly have this secret sauce with their pitching, and it's coming to the fore again. Let's show you the ERA standings overall in the major leagues, and I'll show you exactly what I mean by just how well the Mets are performing. From ERA, you look at it right here, Mets at 2.83, the only team under 3 in baseball. Giants 3.06, Rangers 3.17, followed by the Royals and the Tigers. So the Mets right now, Alanna, you have to like the way they're playing. The big three in their lineup, my goodness, Lindor, Soto, Alonso, just a fantastic grouping there. But again, it is June 5th. The Dodgers in particular are going to be a much different looking team entering the postseason than they are right now. We know some of their injured pitchers will come back. We know we will see Ohtani on the mound as well. And who knows what all of these teams will do at the deadline. But right now, you'd have to say the Mets look like a really strong club.
Yeah, they are tremendous so far in the National League. Ken, are you more surprised that we're talking about the Mets starting pitching and not the offense of Juan Soto as to why they're doing such a great job so far?
Absolutely, I'm surprised. And I thought initially that David Stearns, as president of baseball operations, doing this for the second straight year, kind of just identifying free agents that aren't going to be big money guys who aren't going to sign for 6-7 years. His preference for shorter term deals, with Yamamoto being the exception in the previous offseason. I thought that might bite them, and yet it hasn't. And Soto is coming on now. He's playing like Juan Soto. That was never going to be a major issue, but their pitching was always going to be a question. And tonight, David Peterson goes in the series finale. The Mets already have won the season series, so any tiebreakers they've got in their favor. But you see a story by Will Salmon and Fabian Ardaya today of The Athletic, the fine pitching details behind why the Mets are better equipped to hang with the Dodgers. If you remember in the NLCS last year, the Mets pitching was gassed. And that was really the reason why they had such difficulty handling the Dodgers. Now, the Dodgers still have superior depth, even though half their pitching staff seems to be on the IL. But the Mets are deeper than they were before. And listen, not to discount the Phillies, the Padres, any of these other teams in the mix here, but it's really interesting to see how this National League is evolving because there are several excellent teams.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The Mets pitching, it was been so good this year, and obviously going into the postseason last year, Kenny, the Mets seemingly were the hottest team in baseball. You mentioned Juan Soto coming of age. We got some Soto shuffles at Dodger Stadium recently. Let me ask you this though, because you make a compelling argument about why the Mets are the team to beat in the National League, but are they the best team in all of baseball? We talk so much about how complete the Tigers are. Are the Mets the best of all 30?
I would say, and Jim Bowden has said this, I believe, on our network, Foul Territory, and he's written it, that the 5 best teams in the National League are probably better than the best team in the American League. It's a National League dominant year. Now, does that mean in a 7-game series, the Tigers or the Yankees or any other representative from the AL could not beat the National League representative? Of course, that does not mean that. we never know what might happen in a series. But as far as pure strength, pure quality, the National League is better this year. And I love the Tigers. I love what they've done. And yes, they are complete. They come at you in a lot of different ways. They have maybe the best manager in the game right now in AJ Hinch. But at the same time, can they match the lineup of the Mets, the Dodgers, the Phillies? I don't know that the answer to that is yes. And the Yankees, they're quite good too. And I'm not going to disrespect the Yankees in any way. I just don't see them necessarily as strong as some of those National League clubs.
Yeah, the Detroit Tigers, the first team so far to 40 wins. Moving on here on Fair Territory with Ken Rosenthal. Evan Drellick of The Athletic, Ken, just wrote a piece, your colleague, about introducing the ABS, a proposal to the competition committee. Obviously, that's automated ball and strike system. What more can you tell us, and when can you imagine that this might take place?
This has been coming, Alanna. We all know it. They've been experimenting with it for years in the minor leagues, first in the Atlantic League and then the affiliated leagues. And it's something baseball wants. It's something that's been hotly debated, but the challenge system, as Rob Manfred told reporters yesterday, is probably coming for 2026. The way it works is this: Manfred will propose it through the competition committee. And the competition committee is stacked in Major League Baseball's favor. It contains or includes 6 owners, 4 players, and 1 umpire. So if all of the players and the umpire object, it's still 6-5 in the club's favor. So if Manfred wants it, he's going to get it. And in the latest CBA, the one that is currently in place, the one that was adopted in 2022, it gave him the right to implement a new rule through this committee on 45 days notice. So he's going to go through that process, and they are listening to players' concerns. As we've written in The Athletic, they have heard about the margin of error from players, the concern that players have expressed with that, and other things as well. But they're going to listen, and they're going to be respectful, but in the end, they're going to do what they want. And it was interesting also yesterday when Manfred addressed reporters, he was asked, do you want to pick a fight the year before the collective bargaining agreement expires? I don't know that he was asked in just those words, but that was the issue that was raised. Hey, why rattle their cages and do something that the players might not want a year before you're going to bargain with them about a new CBA? And his reply was interesting. He said, in the past, I have been a little squeamish about the year before bargaining, about doing things like this. I don't feel that way right now. And part of the reason he doesn't feel that way, in my opinion, is because this is not like he's springing something on the players. This is something, again, that has been discussed already at length. It is also something that, while the players reflexively oppose pretty much anything MLB wants, a number of players want this. They want the challenge system. They want these calls corrected. We have seen, it seems to me, in the last several weeks, a number of disputes over ball strike calls, maybe even more vehement than in the past. I know it might be recency bias on my part, but it seems like every night there's some other issue. The ABS system would hopefully solve that. It would be a different strike zone. The players would have to adjust. And as we've reported, there is talk, and it's going to happen, that MLB is going to put the ABS strike zone on the players' iPads. So during games, players can see the differences between the 2 zones and where the pitches are in each of the zones. But with all that, with all the consideration that is given to the players, it's still MLB's ball game here, and they're going to do what they think is best for the game,
Yeah, it seems like it's
whether
a
it is or
foregone
not.
conclusion that it's coming, and it seems like it's going to be coming sooner rather than later. Ken, let's move our focus to the Athletics based in Sacramento right now, at least for the next 3 years. They have plummeted. This is a team that we thought might be doing something special, maybe get into the postseason via the wild card. They've really struggled. What is your take?
They were 20-16 at one point in early May, and then a few days after that, they go into Dodger Stadium. They win the first game 11-1. They're down 4-3 in the 8th inning against Yamamoto in the second game. And since then, they have just fallen apart. It's been a stretch of 3 weeks. They are 1-20 in that stretch. They've lost 9 straight. And as I write today, you can see the column, blame the bullpen for the A's struggles, but also blame their situation. The bullpen is the primary culprit in a baseball sense. If you're looking strictly at this from baseball terms or in baseball terms, it's the bullpen. It's obvious. I've got the numbers in the column. You can look them all up. It's not very pretty at all. And the bullpen honestly wasn't that good even before this stretch. But With the A's, there's this other layer as well. And I know a lot of people are commenting on the article already saying, I don't want to hear excuses. There's no excuse. Sorry, there is an excuse. They're playing in a minor league park, and it's not just for this year. It's for 3 years at least, and they know it. The players know it. They have not started off well at home. They're 9-22 in Sacramento. Now, Tampa Bay has played much better at home since an awful start. They're 20-19 at home, and they have adapted to their surroundings at Steinbrenner Field, the Yankees spring training complex, much better than the A's have. But the A's have to look at this as a 3-year thing, at least. The Rays know they're getting out of that place. It's 1 year, they'll suck it up and they'll do their best. And it seems the psychology of that is much different from my perspective. And I believe from the A's perspective, though you're not going to hear it from the players and the coaches and the manager, Mark Kotsay, just yet. They don't want to talk. They don't want to be perceived as entitled. And Mason Miller told me in this article, listen, they're playing the opponent in the same environment we are. There's no excuse. No question about that. Got to win games and you got to figure it out. But this is a circumstance created by the league and created most specifically by the owner, John Fisher. And it's a circumstance that never should have happened. And here they are in this purgatory for 3 years. And I'm sorry, folks. You can say the players don't have any excuses. They should just shut up and play. But you know what? This is not an easy environment for them to be playing in. They're at a disadvantage, and that's part of this.
Yeah, imagine if you were just in any sort of job and you had to go to work and you were having to work in a tent versus in a building with air conditioning. Maybe that's a bad example, but is not a good space for them to play in. Let me ask you this, Ken. You said you talked to Mason Miller, and he was very diplomatic in his approach. Some guys have complained about it, but Mason was diplomatic. Does this make him more of a tradable piece?
I don't know that they want to trade Mason Miller, and he has struggled too in May. Every pitcher, it seems, on that staff, every reliever, I should say, has struggled. But what they're trying to do is build around Mason Miller and Brent Rooker and Lawrence Butler and some of their other players. They want to maybe make a foundation here. Not maybe. They want to create a foundation. And they wouldn't trade Miller last year, and I don't expect they would trade him this year. It's interesting, and somebody told me this yesterday. If they wanted to trade Luis Severino right now with a 0.80 ERA on the road and a 6.99 ERA at home, they probably could do it. It's the first year of a 3-year, $67 million deal. They want Severino to be part of what they're doing as well. But his splits in particular speak to the oddity of this all. And he's been somewhat outspoken about it, saying, I need to adjust, but this is different for me. And the thing about the clubhouses being in the outfield, players generally go back to the clubhouses during games, pitchers especially. And whatever they're doing there, looking at their iPads, getting ready for the next inning, it's just the normal way of doing things. And when you go into a place for 3 days, like a visiting team does, okay, you can deal with it. When it's day after day at home, 81 times a year, 243 games at least over a 3-year period, it's a little bit of a different equation.
Yeah, it's a little bit taxing. I can understand that completely. Thanks for bringing us to light on all of the athletics issues. Hopefully they can turn things around, but it's certainly an uphill climb. Much more to come on Fair Territory with Ken Rosenthal. But first, a word from our friends at Foul Territory.
If you're a card collector or you'd like to get into card collecting, may I suggest Arena Club and slab packs, which means that you can rip the packs digitally and, of course, get the card that you want. It's also the most trusted name in the game, and I would rather rip packs these days on my phone than sit next to you and have you grabbing one of my physical packs if I was grabbing one.
Yeah, you don't need me grabbing your packs, because last time you grabbed one, it ended up like this card. So let's not have that, and that's why Arena Club is great. They send them to you in these fancy protectors like this Scout Braun card that we have here, and they'll come safe. They're already graded. Or you could do like I do and just leave my cards in the showroom and never actually see them physically.
Yeah.
But they're safe, protected, and if I want to sell them, I can.
Buy, sell, trade. They offer full transparency, showing every card in the slab pack with the likelihood of pulling each one, so you know exactly what's available before you buy. Get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/foul and use code FOUL.
All right, time now for Grillin Ken. A little bit of a new approach here. In addition to taking questions from our YouTube chat, which we certainly are doing, we are also taking questions from Chat BCC. It's a free chat app. Go to foulterritory.chat. It's completely free, guys, so you can do it and join the conversation. So we're going to take our first couple of questions from Chat BCC. The first is from Armand. Welcome to the show, Armand. We appreciate you taking the time to be with us. What other outfielders will the Padres pursue, Ken, besides Jarren Duran?
Armand, one of the problems in this trade market is that the teams that we've identified as sellers so far don't have a lot to sell. Now, besides Jarren Duran, who I expect will not be traded and not traded to the San Diego Padres, who I'm not sure have enough to get Jarren Duran, who's a really good player. Luis Robert Jr. is the most obvious outfielder available, and he is not hitting again the way you would expect from Luis Robert Jr. He is stealing bases, and he is playing good defense. So you can justify an acquisition of him by citing those things. He still has a lot of money left. I don't know that teams are going to want to do it. The Orioles have not yet proclaimed themselves sellers, but eventually will be. Cedric Mullins is certainly a guy that the Padres can look at. Now, he's a center fielder. They've got a great center fielder in Jackson Merrill, but you can switch one of those guys and just rejiggle your lineup and outfield that way. I don't know exactly where this is going with the Padres. They do need a little bit more offense. They do need an offensive left fielder, but it's really early still, and I would expect over time other opportunities will emerge for them and arise because you'll see teams become sellers that maybe we don't expect right now. And you'll also see maybe buyers willing to trade pieces off their major league roster for other pieces.
Well, I certainly hope for the sanity of the Red Sox and for our producer, Jeremy Meyer, that Jarren Duran is in a Red Sox uniform for a long time. The next question here on Chat BCC for Ken Rosenthal comes from Charlie Custer. Hello, Charlie. What are some guys you envision the Mets pursuing? Who are some of the guys you envision the Mets pursuing around the trade deadline?
Charlie, I'm not sure how much they need, to be perfectly honest. And right now, their depth is pretty good. They have, coming from their minor league system, players that they've been plugging in. Now, pitching is always a need. Bullpen for the Mets would be a specific need, and I would expect that that is where they're going to be most active. But what I like about the Mets is, even with the Vientos injury now, well, you bring up Mauricio. Now, Mauricio might not be ready coming off his injury just yet, but he's there, and he's legit. Acuna, he's also a player that they've plugged in. They have different guys now that are adding from their system and making a contribution. They could trade McNeil maybe. They could trade Marte if he has value. But I would expect their focus is bullpen, and I would expect that maybe they use minor leaguers to go get the pieces that they want.
I feel like everybody all 30 teams are going to be going after bullpen help. If you are a bullpen arm, show me the money. All right, the next question here on Grillin Ken is from Sarah Harmon. This is in regards to the Giants, Ken. Buster Posey made some moves yesterday, more than his predecessor made at one time. But was it too late to fix the offense, or is this just the beginning of unfarhaning the roster? Of course, referring to Farhan Zaidi.
It has to be the beginning. And certainly Dominic Smith has had some success in the major leagues. Daniel Johnson had a nice game for them last night, but Dominic Smith is essentially a guy who's bounced back and forth between AAA and the majors the last couple of years. Daniel Johnson is kind of a career journeyman as well. They're not going to stop there. They can't stop there. This is a team with a clear need at first base. Now, if Dominic Smith takes the baton and runs with it, to use that cliche, great. But I don't expect this is going to be the last of it from them. This is what they could accomplish right now. Again, it's June 5th. It's not July 31st. We've got a long way to go before the deadline. And as Buster Posey is quoted as saying, he's their president of baseball operations, of course, it's a time of year that there just isn't a lot of activity. And that's the problem that a team like the Giants has in trying to improve their offense. They finally ended their streak last night of only scoring 4 or fewer runs. It took about 2.5 weeks for them to get through this. So good news for them, 6-5 victory over the Padres.
Yeah, it's Buster Posey is a three-time World Series champion. Still weird to me. He's the president of the team, but obviously the guy is pretty smart. All right, this is a super chat. Thank you, Daniel Rothenberg. We appreciate you. $5 from Daniel. If he stays healthy, Ken, given the way starting pitchers are being signed, what will Tarek Skubal's value be on the open market?
Extremely high, put it that way. And if I'm not mistaken, he has 2 years left after this year. So we're a ways away from him being on the open market. But at the same time, once he is out there, if he gets out there and he is this version of Tarek Skubal, he's going to be, I would expect, the highest paid pitcher in baseball history. He's that good. And the way the market, of course, operates, generally players build off the players before them. So you have Yamamoto at 325, you have Cole at 324. Yamamoto, granted, got his deal because he was young. Skubal won't be that young when he hits, if he hits the open market. But by that point, maybe the average annual value for him will be higher. So if it gets to that, and let's hope Tarek Skubal stays healthy because he is a joy to watch. If he gets to that, he's going to do rather well.
Yeah, he's going to look great in a Dodgers uniform in about 3 years, Ken Rosenthal. All right, Dude and Dork of the Week is next, right after this.
Hey, if you want to keep the conversation going after a show that you're listening to on the FT network, then head to Chat BCC. AJ's on there.
I'm on there right now, typing away. I'll be there. We'll be there all the time, talking about what topics people want to discuss, what everyone wants to hear us talk about on Foul Territory.
Yeah, if you have a question, we can answer it on FT or on an FT team show on the network. So if you want to come crash our group chat, it's as easy as sending a text. Head to foulterritory.chat to start chatting with FT hosts and the FT fam.
BetMGM is giving you the chance to win a prize every day during the baseball season. Step into the batter's box for BetMGM's Swing for the Fences free-to-play game. Visit the BetMGM app to access the game, and you'll score a prize if you hit a single, double, triple, or home run. Strikeout? No problem. Try again tomorrow. Gambling problem or concern? There is help. Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Dude.
All right, Ken, who's your dude of the week?
All right, first off, Tarek Skubal, one more year of arbitration after this one. So he is closer to free agency than I suggested in the last segment. Now, dude of the week. I know they're 12-50. I know their run differential is negative 181, and I know their playoff odds are 0.0%. However, the Rockies just recorded their first sweep in a calendar year. The Rockies are my dude of the week. Hey, it isn't easy to go through a season like this if you're the players and staff. They've obviously had their manager fired already, so kudos to the Rockies for winning and sweeping the Marlins.
Yeah, it really was Bud Black's fault. Of course it was. My dude is LSU Shreveport. They finished 59-0, Ken, an undefeated season going on to win the NAIL title. They are not the LSU Tigers, the big team, but I tell you what, Shreveport also getting it done. They are my dude of the week. All right, time now for the Dork of the week. All right, Ken. So if the Rockies are your dude, who's your dork?
Alanna, you're thinking right there with me. If the Rockies are the dudes of the week for sweeping the Marlins, that makes almost automatically the Marlins the dorks of the week. And again, they're in a rebuilding situation. I'm not blaming the players and the staff for this. I'm blaming management for what they have done here. And yes, I understand the need to rebuild, the desire to become the Tampa Bay Rays of the East Coast of Florida. It's taken a long time. It's going to take a long time to get this team right. And the attendance figures coming out of that ballpark in Miami right now, not good. For the 3-game series against the Rockies, the total attendance, was 19,738. Total attendance. Their average for the season, 11,649. That's just ahead of the A's and the Rays. And of course, those teams are playing in minor league parks. This to me is an embarrassment. And I've said this. There's no reason they should be drawing more than they are. They're not giving their fans a lot of reason to watch their team play. And again, with the Marlins, I get it. I understand why they're rebuilding. But when is it going to end?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's been a bad scene in Miami for quite some time. All right, my dorks of the week are a team that should be doing a lot better. We really thought they were going to, and that's the Boston Red Sox. Ken, it seems like a bit of a circus. Sam Blum noting they play some terrible fundamental baseball. They have the most errors in the game, Ken, even more than the Colorado Rockies. We have coaches picking fights with opposing players. They have 17 one-run losses, so they can't get down the big hit, can't win the close game. It's just a bit embarrassing for a team that's supposed to be a lot better. They have the talent to do it. Obviously, it just bums me out because this is a team that should be playing better than they are. They should be more competitive in that AL East. They are, unfortunately, my dorks of the week. Get it together, Boston Red Sox. The fan base deserves more than what you are giving. Think of where they could be if they could just win that close game, just a one-run game, even half of those, they'd really be in contention in the AL East. All right, for now, we are going to say goodbye to our friends. Speaking of the Red Sox, watching over on NESN Sportsnet Pittsburgh and NESN Nation, we appreciate you guys very much. We're going to say goodbye for now. We'll see you soon. Trevor May hosts May Day Mondays at 4 p.m. Eastern on the Foul Territory YouTube channel. Monday's episode explores the dark side to big leaguers on social media. That's interesting. And Sandy Alcantara's early season struggles. Subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast to the entire Foul Territory Network. I love Mayday. Obviously, he's such a good, he's a good watch, Ken. He's a good watch. Great part of our Foul Territory platform here. All right. So where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Where in the world is Ken Rosenthal this weekend? What's your game on Fox?
New York. And we have Yankees Red Sox, actually 2 straight weeks of Yankees Red Sox. The first will be at Yankee Stadium this weekend on Saturday with Garrett Crochet scheduled to start for the Red Sox. And then we have one at Fenway Park the week after. And what will be interesting about this matchup, if indeed Crochet is the guy he's scheduled, the Yankees are crushing left-handed pitching. Now, part of that is Judge, of course, but Goldschmidt also crushing left-handed pitching. Cody Bellinger has been really good against left-handed pitching. And Garrett Crochet, as we all know, is one of the best left-handed pitchers in the game. So I am looking forward to seeing Crochet live. I'm looking forward to seeing how the Yankees handle him. And as you just mentioned, Alanna, in the previous segment, the Red Sox are a bit of a mess right now. Even after that big comeback win yesterday, they're having to get in sync now against the Yankees, and that's not going to be easy to do.
Yeah, it's insane to think that the Red Sox can sign a formidable ace in Garrett Crochet. Obviously, Lucas Giolito is supposed to be healthy. Obviously, Tanner Houck is on the IL, but you also get Alex Bregman, who is now hurt. Tristan Cassis is now hurt. They are great when Crochet is on the hill, but they need some support for the remainder of the rotation. And obviously, everybody has some bullpen issues. We will watch you, Ken Rosenthal, on your game this weekend. Have a good broadcast. We appreciate you. Always great to see you here on Fair Territory. Don't forget, guys, Ken will be back with a fresh episode on Monday. Up next, it is Foul Territory. AJ Pierzynski, Eric Kratz, and Scott Braun will host. Buck Showalter is on the show as well, and Monster Territory host Robbie Hyde will join. I'm sure Robbie's got a lot to say about those Boston Red Sox. And then don't forget, Clint and myself will be on Dodgers postgame today when they wrap up the series against the New York Mets. We'll see you later. Take care.